Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Kaylin and today I wanted to do a video about Christmas. My dog is playing with me at the same time, so you might hear a lot of grunting. He's really demanding whenever he wants you to play with him. Like, he brings his toy to me and he literally sits and goes like to get my attention. It's like his way of saying play with me. That or howling. He seems very hyper even though he just had a long walk, so I'm just hoping it's not too noisy in the background. Yeah, I wanted to talk about Christmas and how it doesn't have to be crazy money wise or like calm wise. Like, there's no reason why it can't be calm, and sometimes it's just about finding our own way to do things instead of falling into the traps like set up by society and following what everyone else appears to be doing on social media. And I think that there's just so much more pressure since social media, like, to live up to this like expectation of what the perfect Christmas is. But why does it really matter? Like, if you enjoy your Christmas and you celebrate it how you want, it really doesn't matter if you are ticking all the boxes on this imaginary list of what makes up a perfect Christmas. Potato, stop barking. Okay, so things that we don't need this Christmas. I've been sitting down and like making a list of things that I don't think are important at Christmas time, or that you can have a great Christmas without. And I'm not telling anyone what to do. It's just like some suggestions of things that I think are kind of unnecessary and that like you might want to rethink if you're trying to have a more budget-friendly Christmas. And I don't think that you have to sacrifice the kind of quality of your Christmas through giving these things up. Like, a lot of them I think are just very like unnecessary, and a lot of them are new traditions that didn't exist till about 3 years ago. So the first thing that I thought of when I was thinking of excess and Christmas and things that we don't need is Christmas Eve boxes. I seriously think that this was just created as like a way for companies to get even more money out of people for Christmas, as if like buying gifts for people and buying everything for the day itself isn't enough. He's being very grunty, sorry. Like, I think that it's like they basically have sat down and said, what else can we get out of these people? And that was how they came up with Christmas Eve boxes. You're pulling me away from the table. You're so demanding. I have never done Christmas Eve boxes for my family, and I see them in shops a lot now as if it's just become a standard thing, and almost like if you don't do it, you're depriving your kids of something. But I just think it's completely unnecessary. Like, they're already going to be getting presents on Christmas Day. Why ruin it by presenting them with a box of presents on Christmas Eve as well? Like, a lot of the joy of Christmas for kids as well is like looking forward to the big day, and if you make the day before it like that too, it's just like, I just think it takes away from it, and it creates a kind of spoiled attitude and a feeling of no matter what you do, like, it's never enough. You always have to get more. And like, what is even in the box like that we don't already have? Like, it usually has things like, and this is going to lead me to another point, is matching pajamas. Like, why do we need matching pajamas because it's Christmas time? Like, what is wrong with wearing our own pajamas? And what is the point in buying pajamas that have like the Grinch on them for the sake of a couple of days? Because if you're getting them on Christmas Eve, you're not even going to be wearing them for long. And I think if you need like new pajamas, that's fine. But I think it makes more sense to buy some that are like wintry themed, so you can wear them throughout the entire season of winter rather than limiting yourself to a pair you can only wear for a few days. I just think it's very wasteful, and what do you do with them the rest of the year? And I think that expensive and impressive gifts aren't necessary for a good Christmas, and a lot of the time I find that the expensive gifts are the ones that seem the most impersonal, because it looks like you've just thrown money at the situation because you didn't want to come up with like your own idea. It was just like, oh, here's a voucher, or here is some really expensive brand of perfume or whatever, because I can't think of anything else to get you. And I wonder like how many people really appreciate those things. Yeah, sorry about all the disruption from my dog, but he just like won't leave me alone right now. He really wants to play, and he's in one of those moods I can tell he's not going to be easily satisfied. I just wonder how many of those like really kind of expensive gifts are appreciated. And like they might be, but why put yourself into debt just to buy like a one-off thing because you feel like you should? Another thing that I think is unnecessary for an enjoyable Christmas is a fancy wreath or a wreath making class. I saw a video online about a wreath that was £150, and I think it was actually a Halloween wreath, but just the thought of spending that amount of money on one wreath, it just seems excessive to me. And I know that it has become like a trend to have a wreath for each season, but I don't think you need an expensive wreath. Like, you can throw one together if you really want to out of things that you find in your garden. Like, I know my mum did that with hydrangea that she had and made her own wreath for the door, and it looks really nice. I don't think that expensive wreath making classes are necessary unless it's just a particular interest of yours and you want to develop the skills so that you can use it year after year. In that case, like, it could be, but I don't think anyone should feel like obligated to go to something like that because it's like a Christmassy thing that you should do. And I have seen some that are advertised for ridiculous amounts of money. It's like an hour long and it's like £80 to do the class. Like, I think that you can learn by watching videos online if you don't know where to start, or just work with what you have, or go out kind of foraging for things that you can use for it. Another thing that I feel like we can all do without at Christmas time is a packed calendar. Like, I feel like we kind of run ourselves ragged at this time of year, and it quite often results in sickness because it's getting colder and it just feels like that time of the year when there's more bugs going around. And I just think that, like, why do we do it to ourselves? Like, why do we have to have a calendar that is so filled with activities that it just stresses you out? And if you're more selective about what you do, you're more likely to actually enjoy the things and be present in the moment, instead of it becoming like another thing on a checklist, like, okay, we've done that, now what's next? I think that there's also a lot of pressure to give gifts to everybody that we've like ever met, and it's just not achievable. Like, you can't keep up with giving that many gifts. Like, you have to pay your own bills still at Christmas time. It's not like everything else in the world stops so that you can put all your money towards Christmas. Like, and it's just unrealistic to try to keep up with that. I just think there's no point in getting presents for people that you aren't close to. They might kind of momentarily appreciate the gesture, but it doesn't really mean anything on a deep level. And I just think, like, where does it stop if you buy gifts for people that you sort of know? Like, you could buy gifts for everybody you ever encounter, and it's going to affect your finances and your stress levels, so it's just not worth it. I think that there's no point in accumulating lots of new clutter over Christmas time for the sake of like decorating for Christmas, and then it's just going to be clutter you have to declutter in January, because what are you going to do with the stuff the rest of the year? Like, unless you have a huge amount of storage space, or you've already acquired like a large collection of Christmas decorations, for example, and you have a system in place for storing them. Like, I just find that if we have too many decorations and things like that, it creates stress for me, because they're only out for a month of the year, and that leaves 11 other months where you have to figure out where to put them, or they might be in your way, and you'll forget that they're even there. You could break the things too because they're in the way, and we've had that happen before when we've had too many dishes. Like, that more things have got broken just because I feel like it increases the probability of something falling out of the cupboard. And there's just so many Christmas things we're kind of pressured to buy as if they are needs, but we really don't need them. Like, for example, like Christmas kitchenware, what is the point in it? Because, okay, it might be nice to have like a Christmassy plate or a Christmassy bowl or something for serving things to make it look a bit more festive at the table, but you can do that with like candles and just like napkins and arranging things in a particular way, and it's not necessary. And I just think, like, what do you do with it the rest of the time? It's not like you can use it for more than like a few events a year. And where does it end with that too? Because if you're going to get Christmas dishes, then do you get Halloween dishes? Do you get Easter dishes? Do you get like special birthday dishes? Do you get like Valentine's dishes? Like, it's just endless. And the same with bathroom supplies. Like, I've seen so many things that are Christmas themed, like soap dispensers and like toothbrush holders and all of those sorts of things. It's like, what is the point in spending your money on them so that you can have them for a few weeks of the year, and then you have to figure out what to do with it the rest of the time? And also, you could put out a soap that is scented, what you consider to be a Christmassy scent. You don't need the receptacle for it. Like, you can just use whatever it came in. Maybe this is just me, but the idea of kind of decanting like soap into a dispenser and then having to clean it after just sounds like making more work for yourself. And I also think that we are pressured by fancy Christmas food, because from much earlier than Christmas time there are billboards everywhere advertising all of the Christmas food that we supposedly need. But why do we need so much? And when you buy too much, it just goes off anyway, or it gets lost in the freezer. And if you think about it, like, how many times are you hosting over Christmas? Maybe you do live in a household where people host for Christmas more often, but we would tend to have maybe people over like a couple of times over the holidays. So we don't need like a huge amount of like Christmas platters and Christmas food. Like, for example, I just think that there's an expectation that you have to buy all these Christmas nibbles and make this like really enormous buffet. But if you only have a few people calling over, there's no point. It's just going to get thrown out after, and there won't be enough time to eat it all before it goes off. You can kind of pick and choose the things that you want to eat and just personalize it. But like, I just think that we don't need to rush out and cram our fridges and freezers with every Christmas themed food that you can find. And the same goes for alcohol. You're not kind of responsible for what everybody else in your life chooses to drink. Like, if you try to cater to everyone, you could just be spending hundreds of pounds on stocking up on all these different kinds of alcohol and stuff to appeal to different people, and then they won't get used up and they'll just sit in a cupboard for the rest of the year. Like, you could get one kind and then have the option of like ice water or like a nice soft drink. But I just think it's unnecessary buying 50 different kinds of alcohol that someone might want one sip of. Another thing at Christmas time, if you have kids, like, you don't have to buy your kids. I think that they do really remember the experiences over the things. Like, if you think about your own Christmases as a child, if they were like a positive thing, that is, like, what do you remember about it? Because I can't really remember any of the gifts. I just remember the little traditions we had and the fun times together, and like, that is the stuff that matters and that stays in your memory. And the more you buy them, the more they want. I don't think that kids are ever satisfied and think, wow, you've been so generous to me, I am the luckiest kid alive, and like, I'm going to be a better person because of this. They just get like, they want more and more and more. I also don't think Christmas shopping sprees are necessary. I think you can kind of fall into a trap of, my dog is nuts today, of setting off into town for these like marathon shopping sessions, but it's just stressful. It's hard to carry everything. I know that it's probably less popular now that people buy more online, but it does still happen, and you see people in this kind of fluster as it gets closer to Christmas, running around shops like mad, like trying to get everything that they need for everybody, and it just gets, he's literally wobbling the table, sorry, and it just kind of gets out of control. And I think then you just impulse buy more because you're like, right, let's just get this all done so we can get out of here, because it's not a pleasant atmosphere to be in either. So yeah, like, I don't think that it's something that we need to do. You can just carefully select gifts for people at from different places and relieve yourself of all that pressure. I also don't think we need expensive advent calendars. My kids are getting an advent calendar. I know my boyfriend ordered ones for them. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but other than that, they've got like a basic chocolate one. I'm sorry, I feel like he's just going to be nuts this whole video and keep wobbling the table. So sorry if that's annoying, and now he's barking at something as well. Like, there are so many advent calendars and I just can't believe the price of them. They're like the price of a really expensive Christmas gift, and this is before Christmas has even happened yet. And they're filled with miniatures of things that you probably won't even use, or like when you reveal to yourself what they are, you'll think, okay, that's not really something I would have chosen. It's almost expected of you to get an advent calendar. Now he's going to drink really loudly. I think he doesn't want me to make a video. He's just like jealous that my attention is going elsewhere, so he's like, I'm gonna ruin it for you. I just don't think that we need them, and they didn't even exist until kind of recent years, because when I was a kid, all I remember in terms of like advent calendars were the ones with the little pictures where you open them and there was like a Christmas related scene behind the flap, or the chocolate ones which you just eat and then they're gone. Like, I don't remember there being anything else, and now there are so many ridiculously overpriced ones. It's just crazy. Another thing that I don't think we need at Christmas time are new outfits. I'm sure that most of us have something festive in our wardrobe that we can use again. I have like a Christmas dress that my boyfriend got me last year. It's green with sequins on it, and I will be wearing that one again this year. And just looking through my wardrobe for anything that I think looks a little bit festive, like my red tartan dress, and also I have like that fluffy black jumper with the sequins on it. So you probably already have something that looks Christmassy anyway, and I don't think you need to spend a lot of money on an outfit specifically for one day. The same goes for jewellery. I don't see anything wrong with getting yourself, like, for example, a pair of like Christmassy earrings, but then like I have a pair from last year of little Christmas trees, and then I have some cherries that I also think look quite festive, so I'll just be like rotating those and using them this year. And I don't feel the need to run out and buy any other accessories or jewellery just for specifically for Christmas. Like, I don't know, it just seems crazy to me to spend a lot of money on things like that just for the sake of one day. Another thing relating to clothes is, like, do you already have a Christmas jumper or something that would do as a Christmas jumper? It doesn't even have to have like a picture of anything Christmassy on it. It could just be like a Christmassy colour. And the same goes for your kids. I think that we're almost expected to get like these new Christmas outfits every year for kids, but mine are just going to wear their Christmas jumpers from last year because they still fit. They're perfectly fine. Like, what is the point in running out and buying new ones just for the sake of it? I feel like this video is getting very long. There's just so much pressure on us from society, but in the end of the day, like, nothing bad is going to happen to you if you have a smaller scale Christmas. Like, the only negatives that I can see that come from Christmas are whenever people like go over the top with it and they end up in debt and create financial worries for themselves and tons of stress by rushing around like headless chickens, trying to do everything at once. And if we make it smaller in terms of like the amount of money we put towards it and also the amount of effort we put in, I think it just saves us so much like unnecessary stress and worry. And I think as well, like, this might just be my attitude to it, but I think that a lot of the kind of family traditions around Christmas time are very cheesy, and they're sold to us as something that you must do in order to celebrate Christmas properly. But they didn't. The thing that I keep coming back to is they didn't exist until recently, like, and we all survived just fine. Like, I never went to an expensive Christmas event as a kid, and I don't feel like I missed out on anything, and I feel like we still celebrated Christmas and it was fun and there were memorable traditions, so you really don't need that stuff. Another thing about Christmas that I've realised is it's the same thing every single year. It's literally like, the more you go through life, I think the more you realise one year is a copy of the last, and the same expectations are put on you every year, but what is it actually for? It's like you're on this like festive hamster wheel and you just don't need to be on it. Like, it's all going to be forgotten about as soon as Christmas is over until next year when we repeat the madness all over again. So I was thinking, kind of on the flip side of that, that the positive things that you can do around Christmas that you don't need, but that you can do without financially ruining yourself or causing yourself like to have a mental breakdown, are things like listening to carols, like watching Christmassy movies and just like having a cozy time, creating like a cozy atmosphere in your house with your Christmas tree or lights and your candles or music or whatever you usually use for basic decorating. Going to look at Christmas lights and going on Christmassy walks and wrapping up warm in the weather, and I think that makes me feel Christmassy, like wearing hats and gloves and stuff and going out for a cold winter's day like walk, looking at people's Christmas trees or like outdoor decorations that there are around the place. Having some treats like in your house, maybe preparing your own. Like I like to make my non-alcoholic mulled wine in the slow cooker, and it's really easy to make, and it makes the house smell Christmassy and it tastes really nice and the kids like it, so I'll probably do that. But you don't have to go overboard, and you can make your own like Christmas cookies or like gingerbread or whatever you want to do. Like you don't have to have every single like Christmas food that's on offer in your house. You can write Christmas cards to people if it makes you feel good, but if you feel like it's not something you enjoy doing, there's no real need for it, because it's supposed to be something that comes from like a place of like positivity and kindness. And I think if you don't feel good about it when you're doing it, like it literally cancels out the point in doing it at all. And I think doing thoughtful gestures to help out other people around Christmas time, I try to remind myself that there's always people worse off, like, and that it's a stressful time of year for lots of people, and I try my best to be kind where I can to people, because I feel like they have enough stress already, and I think that the traffic and the rushing and the crazy shops and the busyness just makes everybody totally stressed out, and we need like a little more kindness and to kind of return to old Christmas traditions in your mind. Like I like thinking about things like the folk museum at Christmas time and the traditions that they have there. They're all very simple and home-based ones, and they don't cost any money, but they make you feel Christmassy, and they're like heartwarming, and I think that is the way I want to feel about Christmas. I don't want to feel like consumerism has just completely taken it over and it's all about buying stuff and being greedy and like beating people out of the way to get what you want. I think it's good to support free events in your community, because the more they're supported, the more likely they are to continue. You can do simple baking at home. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. You can make your own shortbread or something. It's only like 3 ingredients. So like I just think it creates a Christmassy atmosphere, and having something in the oven generally makes the house feel cozy and warm. And you can also support charities that you like, and like do little things that make you feel good, like the shoebox appeals, or like you can donate food to the food bank. And I think just doing little things like that, even if it's just a small gesture, it helps you remember the kind of meaning of Christmas and why we celebrate it, and it takes away from the consumerism and the craziness that has kind of ruined it. So I hope this video was helpful to someone, and it helps you like plan out some ways that you can have a less kind of consumer driven Christmas and actually enjoy the original feeling of it that I feel has kind of been wiped out a bit. And I hope you'll have a good day, and I will make another video soon. Bye.